My mother used to say to my father, the only way you're going to ever use that is in the hereafter if you live long enough. What happens is you hold on to things, like in my case, what you're looking at down here is 50 years old. Some of it is not as old. I used these was it isometric units for building the stagecoach model. But in other words, these these two rulers. This one I believe is for machine drawings, and this is for architectural. This was like $3 and something. Wait for it. Garbage. This one here was maybe a little bit more because it is actually wood, but this is so obsolete, it's sad. Okay. All right. Now here, I had a lot of different templates for doing electronic work on the grid paper. Okay. It even has surface mount on here. All right. Not real old. Probably 30 years old. Okay. Wait for it. Oh yeah. And more electronic things. Some of these are actually Radio Shack sold, and they have the different symbols and stuff. And no, everybody uses CAD or a drawing program. Wait for it. And this one I used a lot. This was actually one-to-one, and I could lay out the ICs for making circuit boards. You use EagleCAD now. Wait for it. Okay, and this thing was newer. I bought this for working on the stagecoach, and that's, oh God, that's 20 years ago, maybe 30 years ago now. See, I learned by watching other people's follies. Let's call them follies. They save all this stuff, and they keep saying they're going to get to it, and they never do. And then the worst case was the neighbor down the street. I told you he was a pack rat. He was a hoarder, and his wife was screaming at him to go out in the garage and to clean it. And he had a large pickle barrel, wooden pickle barrel, and he dumps it over, and he starts taking out chains. And what he would do is he would drive along in the car, and he would see a chain that fell off a car, a snow chain, and he would run and get it and save them. So now he's laying them out on the garage, and he lays all these chains out, and I'm standing there going, this guy is bonkers. And his wife comes down and just looks at me. She says something like, he'll never change. And then she goes back inside. And he's telling me about he has a friend that can re-weld these snow chains, which nobody would put it on a modern car. But his logic was circular. It was part past, part present. He would mix them together. And then as I'm talking to him, he very neatly puts them back into the pickle barrel and rolls it back into place. And then he pulls out a box, and it's got a bunch of really large drills. Let's see, the biggest, I guess they're half-inch chucks, and they're the type that a plumber or electrician would use to drill through a wooden floor. And he's telling me these motors can be rewound, and I'm looking at him. I said, first of all, you're going to need some some gears replaced in that. And he's just staring at me. I know. I've taken drills apart. I put new pieces in and put them back together. He's just staring at me. I said, your front bearing on this one is bad. I said, this one here, your brush, where the brushes, the carbon brushes go in, that's broke. There's these little turn plastic pieces that go to hold the brushes in. They were missing. So he goes, no, you don't know what you're talking about. I'm going to take these. So he did. And before that, I said, this is years ago. I said, all the plumbers, now, they're all using battery-powered tools. They go into a site now, and they have battery packs. And if they have electricity, they have the battery packs on charge. They don't use corded drills. And he's like, he's living in the past. So he goes over to this place that does tool repair. And they basically laughed him out of the building. So he comes over and he calls me over and he goes, I went over to the place and they were laughing at me. I said, yeah, I tried to warn you. He goes, that stuff's I said, this stuff's 50 or more years old. I said, tools evolve. And that's what I tell people. And some of the weird stuff, like after my dad died, I had to go through all his stuff. I had to go through my mother's stuff with my father. And then we donated a lot of it to get rid of it. My sister took a few things, and then when my dad died, anything I didn't want, I gave to my sister, and she filled her garage up. And then she calls me up a couple weeks later. I can't move in my garage. You gave me all that stuff. I said, you didn't have to take it. Well, it's not good just to throw it out. And yeah, it is. It is. You put it out there on the curb and people will pick it. Okay? And then it's out of your mind. It's out of your problem. So anyway, I'm off the phone call or whatever. Maybe a couple days later, I'm sitting in the chair in the living room. And in my mind, I'm going through the house, room by room. And in the one room, there's like this dark area of the back of the workshop. And I'm like, what is that? In my mind, it's like this portal to the past. And it's a tarp. There's something's under the tarp. So I go down there, and because it's my house now, I bought my sister out with the money that my dad left me. And it's a funny story. Anyway, my father left me everything, but I still gave my sister half. And then after I gave her half, I bought her half of the house with the money that was actually mine. But it's funny stuff. So anyway, I go down there and I move this workbench away, and I pull back this tarp, and then it's a giant 3-phase motor. So I'm like, oh man, I'm starting to get a hernia back then. So I go to move it, it's really light. So I pull it out and I go up the cellar stairs with it a little at a time. I put it out for garbage, and the garbage man picked this thing up and threw it into the garbage truck. They didn't even hesitate. It's not even they looked at it for a couple minutes, maybe figuring it's got a lot of copper in it. Well, they have these side cubby holes on the truck. They can put stuff in there for themselves. And the two of them, they just looked down at it, looked at each other, and into the truck. Now, what that was my father would always tell this story about how he was going to build a 3-phase power adapter for machines he didn't even have. Okay, that's the extent my father would go with the stuff. And my mother would say, you better be able to do it in your hereafter, because he was getting older, and all these projects he was going to get to, he didn't get to. After my mother died, he started working on that stagecoach, and he wasn't having fun anymore. He went out and bought an electric organ, used, full of cockroaches, brought that home, played make-believe on that, and then he goes, I want a really good stereo. So we went off to the stereo store, and he basically bought the same thing he already had. It was fun watching this, and I'm like, I have all this stored in my head, what people do when they get older, what they don't do. And that guy on the block, not only did he pack rat at home, and there was a hoarder there where he worked, and I had to clean the factory system out where he worked, and they didn't throw anything out. All the different benches and shelving was made from packing crates. Okay, so I'm taking this stuff apart, and I have to clean the building wall to wall because it's being sold. And he's taking all this stuff home, and his wife had screamed at me for putting stuff out in front of my house that he would take home. Now he's bringing the stuff home, and what he would do is he'd load the trunk up, and then at night, well, I guess when she was in watching TV or whatever, he would sneak out and bring the stuff into the house, and that cellar was packed. So she kept trying to get me to promise that when he died, that I'd clean his mess out, and I kept saying no. I wouldn't even keep quiet. I'd just say no. I'm not doing it. I said I'm not handling. But I used to go over and visit him. He'd come over and visit my shop, and he had every crystal radio set that he had as a kid. All the headphones were no good because they needed to be recharged. I showed you how to recharge them. He never figured that out, how to recharge headphones. So I did some reading. I did my own research. I come up with my own system. It's done. Okay? But I'd go over there and he'd forget what he showed me. And he would bring out the headphones. He'd say, these don't work anymore. The magnet's weak. And I said, yeah, okay. Didn't say anything. I'm getting involved because he'd hand it to me. I would recharge the magnets, and then he would never use them. That's what he was doing to me. He had me fixing stuff, and then I didn't get to it. And I'm repairing stuff that I didn't get to it. I know the game now. All right. Now, last night, I had a new channel. They moved it, and I was able to watch Defy. It's a channel, and it had the American Pickers. And they went to this guy's area, giant freaking building, and he had all motorcycle stuff. I'm going to get to that. I'm going to get to that. I'm going to get to that. No, I'm going to get to that. And he's doing that, and Frank's trying to buy something from him. And I'm laughing. I'm like, yeah, he's going to get to it in the hereafter. Because the guy is like 70 years old, and he did sell him a couple things, but they actually believe that they're going to get to it. Okay? And like I told you, that one neighbor, I went and visited him 3 days before he died, and he's going to get to all the projects. The projects, they weigh you down. Okay? You go down in your workshop and you want to work on something, and you're surrounded by projects that aren't finished. I told you, my father had at least 5 hedge clippers that he took apart and was going to fix. 5 of them. And the reason the hedge clippers went bad so quick was he used 3-in-1 oil instead of just spraying it down with some WD and wiping it down every time. I have a pair of hedge clippers over 30 years old. They're hedgehogs. I spray them down every time I use it with WD-40 and wipe it down. And then every so often I oil it because WD-40 helps prevent the buildup, but it's really not a lubricant. Okay, it's WD stands for water displacement. It'll reactivate oil. So when you spray WD-40 on it, the old oil that's sitting there and it's got caked, it'll reflow, and that's why it seems like WD-40 is actually a lubricant, but it's not. But it's funny. My father was going to get to all those hedge clippers. What I did was I took the best parts because they're all the same model, Black & Decker. I took all the same models, put them together, took all the best pieces, and they're self-sharpening, but they were all gummed up with like tar from the hedges because he kept putting 3-in-1 oil on them. And 3-in-1 oil turns into varnish after a while. It's really annoying. If you put it in fish tank pumps, the old Superior pumps, it warns you, make sure you use motor oil. Don't use 3-in-1 because it turns into a varnish. It breaks down. And I learned all these things. I observed everybody else, and that's why I tell you, I have a lot of stuff, but I know where it is, and I can access it in seconds. As soon as I get in the room that the item is in, it's always put back in the same place. Pull out the bin, open the bin, there it is. Okay? I don't put it back somewhere else. It has to go back in the same place because I'm not going to remember where the new place is. That's how I operate. But when I opened a drawer in my bedroom on a little dresser, I had a full 2 drawers of drafting stuff and the drafting pictures and this and that. And I said, you know, so if you don't use something in 50 years, when am I going to use it? And hereafter? And they were keepsakes. Okay. Now this is really not a keepsake. After I bought this, it helped me with one part on the stagecoach. Okay. I don't need it anymore. Here. It's never going to get used. Well, I might build a project and I might need that. That's how you think. And that's why I used to listen to people. Well, I'm going to get to this. I might use it for this. They build a project around something that somebody gives them. And that's not how life works. To be happy, you got to go along doing what you want to do. And there are people that somebody will give them something and then they build something around that and it doesn't get finished. Okay. Because they took on too much. It's those guys bringing the cars home on YouTube. They're all excited. Look over their shoulder. Okay? The excitement has worn off on the other 10 cars behind them. And they start looking over the car and it's rusted through in spots. Oh, this is going to need some paint. It's going to be more paint. It's going to need body work. The motor's probably shot in it. That's why the person parked it and left it there. Or the transmission. And the mice have gotten in the car and chewed all the wires. I've been through all this with people. And I've been there helping them rebuild an old car or an old motorcycle, cleaning out the house when the person dies. I don't do that anymore. Okay? I did it, let's see, 1, 2. I did my father's stuff, my mother's stuff, the kid down the street's mother's, the house, in order so they could sell it. A guy I worked with at work, I helped him clean a house out so they could sell it. It was his father's house. But they listened to me. In other words, I said, we bring everything down from every closet and we work our way from the top of the house to the living room. And you bring the stuff down and the brothers and sisters come over every day and pick out the stuff they want. All this stuff it's either recycled, Goodwill, or thrown away. Okay, there's like 3 piles, and that's what you got to do. And I can do it, man. I look at something, and I made a pledge with myself. If I don't use something within 3 years, I either sell it, give it away, or throw it out. Lately, I just throw it out because every time you look at something, basically you start thinking about it. You know, like back here, this is a Huff and Puff oscillator. There it is. Finished it. Got it all working. Understand how the circuit works. All right, now this might become something. Might. I'm not promising anything, but you know, this is more of a modern idea. It's not as modern as the PPL. Are they PPL? Well, anyway, the phase lock loop boards that I have. But I wanted to see it work. I went for it. It's done. I'm not held down by every time I open a drawer, something old pops out at me. Okay? I've got it down to, you throw it out. You got to throw stuff out. You're not going to live forever. And you go, well, I'm going to get to this. No, you're not. You're lying to yourself. The worst thing you can do in life is lie to yourself. It's bad enough when you're lying to other people. But when you lie to yourself, that's bad. To thine own self be true, something like that. But I learned by watching my father, the guy on the street, other people. And then you sit there at work, I'm going to get to this, I'm going to get to that, the guy. And then you say, how you doing with that? Oh, I'm on to something else. It didn't pan out, or they never even started the thing. And then there are people that are at work and they bring stuff in, they want to give it to you because they don't want it in front of them anymore. And they go, what? I said, no. And then one kid told me, take it from them and trade it or sell it. I won't even do that anymore. Okay. I had a guy that just died. I went to tech school with him, and he recontacted me through. He saw my videos on YouTube, and he started emailing me. Do you want my stereo equipment? He had really high-end equipment, but it's 50 years old. It's worth money. And he's telling me, and I said, I don't want it. He goes, well, I don't know. I said, I don't know what to tell you. And then he emailed me and he says, what do you do with your diplomas and everything? Okay, it's in a drawer. My diplomas are one stack. I got it down. It's not, my diplomas aren't throughout the house in different drawers. They're in a stack, neatly in that dresser. And that's where I still kept my high school yearbook, and then the supplement book that have name and addresses when we had the reunion. I have those together. There's certain things I do keep, but why would I keep templates for drafting that I never use? Why would I keep a pencil sharpener for a pencil nobody uses anymore? Okay, I know what junk is. And the one guy says, you threw it out like it was shit. It is. It is. It may be in mint condition, but it's shit. It's not needed anymore. And it's going to its home in the landfill along with the templates and those 2 rulers. And there's another ruler down in there. You just, after a while, when I build, I work with steel rulers now that go into a hundredth of an inch, not a 32nd, a hundredth. So those old rulers, they're good when you're laying out something real fast, but you can lay out something real fast with a steel ruler. It became obsolete. So you're opening a drawer up, and you really could use the drawer maybe to put something new into the drawer. And meanwhile, the drawer, you open it up, and all these memories creep out at you, and they're wasted. It's wasted time. It's wasted space. It's wasted time. And I know a lot of you guys will start cleaning up, and then you get bogged down with the memories, like the guy with the pickle barrel. With the chains for the cars. Nobody puts chains on their cars anymore. You put snow tires. But that was his logic. When you talk to him, circular logic. Over here, you need chains in deep snow. But he doesn't drive in deep snow. He's too old. But, you know, he'd go in this circle. Well, that's the kind of chains you need in the deep snow. People don't use chains anymore. They don't know any better. No, they use snow tires and four-wheel traction. And when it's real bad, they stay home. Okay? But his logic, and pickle barrel, and he takes them out, he lays them out, and then he puts them back in the barrel like they're worth something, and then he wheels the pickle barrel back, you know? And then he starts on me with the drills. And I'm like, you know what? They don't use them anymore. You're in the past. You're stuck in the past. I'm not stuck in the past. I'm not totally in the future. I have Arduinos that I've worked on. I do some old stuff and some new stuff. Okay? And I'm not going to get sucked into the Raspberry Pi nonsense, all that. Oh, there's a shortage of... No, I've had it with working with computers. I've done with the radios, and things are being organized here. And I'm going to try to move on to a new hobby. Okay, it's time. You know, I have been working on I have a bending jig for bending, making aluminum boxes, and I've been reading up what I can find on layouts of aluminum boxes, and I've been looking at some of the older ones that I have, metal boxes, you know, like this. You buy this, you know, like 20 bucks, whatever, how it's made, and they're not made as nice as I thought they were. And I went back and looked at some of my older ones, and they're really not, my boxes that I'm making are pretty damn good. So that's what I'm working on now, and I'm telling you, if you keep collecting stuff, oh, and oh, that's weird, ooh, you're in trouble, okay? You're in real trouble. And you'll either get sick and have to move, and then you'll be like, watch the Hoarders program. The person's saving their crap in bags, and we got to throw this out. This oh no, you can't. I watched that just for like a few minutes. I laugh and I turn it off. And it's a sickness. Well, the person, something happened to them, and they think they're going to save the past in plastic bags. And it's bad enough they're not saving their own crap. They're going and picking stuff out of garbage cans. Oh, why did that person throw that out? That's still good. And then they drag it home. And then one day the town comes and says, you either clean this property up or we're going to condemn it and sell it off on you. And that's what you see. And then those poor people that had to work with those people, they try to, well, we'll work with her. We'll talk to her a little. Go tell them. You say to them, yeah, we're going to help you clean this. If you have any problem, we're going to walk away. I would love to, maybe they do have an episode where they tell a person, walk away, and tomorrow you can see the dumpsters come. And it just gets thrown out in front of you, and they take you away to the loony bin. Okay? I think that's it. All right, that's it.